Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zach Hardy, and this is episode 1 of the UFL Rewind. Um, about in this first episode of UFL Rewind. First off, if you don't know what the UFL is, a couple years back I announced the inception of the Unitards Legends Football League, a video game, virtual football league that I was going to be starting. It was renamed to the Unitards Football League and has been going since 2014, just behind the scenes without any real exposure to YouTube or Twitch or anything like that. And I've been going whatever, blah, 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 and I've set up the regular season to start in of the fall instead of the spring of the following year. So it is replacing the Dream Season Football League this year. Talk about here on this first episode, this pilot episode of the UFL Rewind. I am your host, Zach Hardy, and today we've got a couple things to talk about. We're looking into the standings. We're looking into whatever it may be, and let's kick it off with talking about the New York Sentinels and Kansas City core game. This game was not a blowout, but it was a very interesting game throughout all four quarters. And there were some real key points to take away from this game. Of course, you talk about the New York Sentinels defense, one of the probably the best in the league. And I don't think there's any doubt in that. The New York Sentinels just have a way with big from the Sentinels offense. So there's a big talking point from that game. And ultimately it comes down to this. The Sentinels have a great secondary. They have a great defensive line. And it's going to be hard to really get anything done on offense against the Sentinels. I think they may be one of the scariest powerhouses in the league, and it really shows why they made it to the Spalding Ball last year. Of course, they ended up losing in dramatic fashion to the Los Angeles Bolts, but still, they put out a great outing, and most of their defensive strong points ended up coming back after the offseason. So big thing that the Kansas City core really has to focus on throughout the rest of the season, their next 5 games, is really making sure that one loss is their only loss, because every team in the Unitards Football League wants that number 1 spot. There are only 3 spots in the postseason per division, per conference. And last year, having a chance in the past 2 years to make it to the Spalding Ball, they just were not able to get it done. So in order to capture that first seed, they really need to take out the big top teams like the New York Sentinels and the Connecticut Stampede. And if you would like, you could also throw, possibly throw in the Chicago Steam there as well. So the core need to make sure that in order to get that top seed, this is their one and only loss on the season. There's a very good chance the Sentinels or the Stampede could hit a very, very, very good undefeated season this year. And I think they have the defense and offenses respectively to prove it and to do it. So with that, we go on to the second game of the of Week 1-2. The first overtime game of the season, the Seattle Avengers and the Cincinnati Lynx, an inter-conference matchup inside the Pacific Conference. Seattle Avengers coming in with one of the strongest defenses in the league, and the Cincinnati Lynx coming in with one of the strongest offenses in the league. The Avengers were not gutted, but they were spliced open a bit on defense over the past offseason. And the Cincinnati Lynx got a lot of the core receivers and or offensive linemen back after the offseason. And this game really proved to be a nail biter throughout the end, with a final score coming down 27-24 in overtime. Seattle just kicking a field goal within the final 30 seconds of the game. Seattle really proved that it could be a dominant team to factor into. The past two seasons, the first season they finished 1-5. The second season they finished 0-6. They brought in, and this was with a great defense. They just had the hardest league or hardest schedule 2 years, with one of the easier schedules on the board. Maybe not the easiest this year. They still have the shot to be one of the better teams in the league, and especially in the Pacific Conference. They have a shot at gaining that first seed in the postseason. And you look at the Seattle Avengers team, they have been more improved the past 2 years. They've gotten better on offense. They've gotten more experienced. And it's safe to say they could be one of the powerhouses in the Pacific Conference and in the entire UFL this year. With this win, the Seattle Avengers tie at the top of the Pacific Conference for the very first time in franchise history, going up at 1-0, and Cincinnati Lynx falls down to be, at the moment, the sole 0-1 team or winless team in the Pacific Conference. I think the Lynx will do really well throughout the rest of the season, maybe finish a 4-2 record. I don't see anything like a 3-3 record. I really don't. But I do expect. I did expect a little bit more from the Lynx. I expected it to be a little bit less. I expected them to win, of course, and I expected them to have a little bit more of a distant win, maybe a 38-27 win. But with a loss, they really need to show that they can be one of the best teams in the league. Making it to the Spalding Ball in the inaugural season and losing to the Connecticut Stampede is always a hard thing to bounce back from, and making the postseason both years of the UFL. This is really going to be a must-win season for the Cincinnati Lynx to really establish themselves as one of the bigger powerhouses in UFL history. So that's really the biggest talking point, the Cincinnati Lynx and what they can do further down into the season. And as we get closer to the postseason, seeing where they can end up ranking, it's going to be a big season for the Lynx this year. Then we get into the final game of Week 1-2, the Baltimore Capitals falling to the Connecticut Stampede 21-14 after being up 14-13 at the beginning of the fourth quarter. The Baltimore Capitals have never make it far and actually hold on to a win. They have choked very often in the past 2 seasons, and they really have a lot of weaknesses in their team, with a very old wide receiving core, very experienced, yet on the aging side with the defense and especially the corners. Really what they've got going for them is a good young offensive line that is solid and can prove to be one of the more dangerous and more sleeper offensive lines in the UFL. Nonetheless, Baltimore falling to the Connecticut Stampede is a big deal. Of course, the Connecticut Stampede, one of the more consistent history, winning the inaugural Spalding Ball in the first season, being one of only 2 teams to win the Spalding Ball. Of course, they are one of the most historic franchises in UFL history, as we're only in season 3, but some experience behind them in the Connecticut Stampede. And with this win, they really established themselves as one of the more key threats in the Atlantic Conference this year. They showed that what happened after the offseason did not affect them. It kept them strong, or they kept strong. Some key defensive players over the offseason, being able to replenish the offense with some young guys in the draft and being able to take their defense and remold it into something special. They just showed to be one of the most, dynamic teams in UFL history. I really enjoy watching the Connecticut Stampede week after week after week, and they never fail to amaze. Their games are always a very interesting and intriguing game. And with 6 games in the season for all teams, it's really every single game counts. And with the Baltimore Capitals, I don't expect them to make the postseason this year. I mean, you've got a strong Atlantic Conference. You've got the Connecticut Stampede and New York Sentinels, both Spalding Ball teams at the very top of the Atlantic Conference this year. The Atlanta Bravehearts still trying to find their way. The Kansas City Core still could be a dominant threat in the Atlantic Conference. And of course, you have the Chicago Steam, who never failed to amaze, being the first team to go 6-0, or one of the first 2 teams to go 6-0 in 2004. This is going to be a hard season for the Baltimore Capitals to be able to claim a Spalding Ball of their own. I mean, they've made the postseason this past year. In the previous year. I mean, they are just one of the teams that really has a rough ride ahead of them to be able to get to the Spalding Bowl. They have to go through the Connecticut Stampede. They have to go through the New York Sentinels. Both teams I expect to make the postseason. And then if they get to the Spalding Bowl, you still have to face a team that's, maybe like the Seattle Avengers, who have rebuilt themselves and really improved a lot. The Cincinnati Lynx or the Texas Watchmen, which are one of the most prolific teams in UFL history. The Arizona Copperheads, who can always strike you at any moment in time. The Vegas Raiders, who could be a sleeper pick, and the Los Angeles Bolts, who, let's face it, are one of the most dominant teams we have seen. I mean, this is going to be a hard ride for the Baltimore Capitals, who've been insisting that they will win a Spalding Ball within the first 3 years of franchise history. This is their last chance to be able to go through on that promise from 2014, and I just personally do not see it happening. But with the talent they have on the roster, on the offensive line, the defense is getting old, but they can still reshape it. Their quarterback being a franchise quarterback, or maybe old but is experienced, I think they have a shot. But it's not looking so great. I mean, of course, it's only the first of 6 games in the season, but still, the Baltimore Capitals are really going to have to push forward. They've got a hard schedule on the road and at home. It's looking like the Baltimore Capitals need to improve before they can get to the Spalding Bowl. With week 1-1 out of the way, we get into some of the biggest headlines, some of the biggest news-making from week 1-1 going into week 1-2 of the UFL regular season. First point of topic is whether the Vegas Raiders Heads game will be a must-win for owner of the Vegas Raiders, Anna Bailey. It's difficult to really say. If you're not an improved team in this league, you get 6 games in a season to really prove your worth. And I mean, you look at the Vegas Raiders stats over the past, couple of years. The Vegas Raiders going 2-4 in 2014 and 2-4 in both seasons. I mean, with a total of 4-8 over the past 2 seasons, it's not what you would expect from an owner that can get booted from the league and from a team at any point from the establishment. It's always going to be a must-win for every game, for every team, every week for the in the UFL. 6 games are all you have to prove that you can be a legitimate postseason team. And then on top of that, in order for a Spalding Ball victory, you need to play at least 8 to 9 games in total. So that is just about over half of the NFL regular season. All games matter in the UFL. All postseason games matter. It's a one and done in the postseason, just like it's maybe a one and done for some teams in the regular season. And the Vegas Raiders don't show to be one of the most improved teams in the league. They are a sleeper pick, yes, but that's because everybody else in the Pacific Conference is just too good or too improved or too young and powerful or too dynamic or too prolific or too versatile or too incredible. It's the Vegas Raiders will not be winning the Spalding Ball this year, and I can put that down in writing because I know I'm right. But the case is not whether they're going to win a Spalding Ball. The case is whether this Vegas Raiders and Arizona Copperheads game in Week 1-2 is a must-win for Anna Bailey. If it's not, then I would be surprised because she has been in the league for 3 years, and she has not proved to be a consistent team throughout the past 2 years. You don't get very many chances or very many seasons in the UFL if you're a failing owner. And when it comes to owner, you also have to coach the team. You have to manage the team. Anna Bailey has not done a great job with keeping the Vegas Raiders going and keeping them afloat. They have been very rocky, excuse me, and very steady over the past couple of years, and I don't expect Vegas Raiders to do very much when it comes down to this season. I assume that this game would be just as much of a must-win for Vegas Raiders and especially Anna Bailey, as much as the rest of the other 6 games or other 5 games are going to be a must-win. I think she needs to get to the postseason. If not, I think she's gone. I think she's done from the league. I mean, every other team seems to be doing well, and at least has had one good season with it about. The Vegas Raiders haven't gotten past 500 or even to 500 at all in their career or in their franchise history. They've always had a losing record. They've never had a winning record. They've never had an even record. And Bailey just needs to win, and it needs to prove herself as a valuable owner, manager, and coach to the Vegas Raiders, as every other coach in the UFL has. She's really the only owner, coach, manager, whatever, on the chopping block, on the hot seat in the UFL and in UFL history. All other owners have proven their worth. She has yet to do so, and I'm really looking forward to what she has to say and what she can do with the Vegas Raiders. So with that being said, we get into headline number 2, and that is, can the New York Sentinels defense be stopped? And to be honest, that's really a big question that's going to be asked throughout the entire season. The New York Sentinels have one of the most prolific defenses in, I think, football history. Yeah, maybe a virtual football league, but them in video game terms to the real life 85-86 Chicago Bears. I mean, their defense is powerful, it's impactful, it's dynamic, it's versatile, it's all over the place, it's young, and it's experienced at the same time. It's powerful. It's always going to be in your face. It's kind of like that shitty commercial on the TV that never goes away, and after a while you're just like, I can't ignore it anymore, and you look at it and you understand it, but you keep hearing it over and over and over again because it's always going to be there. It's always going to be in your face. It's always going to be around, and there's no getting rid of it. And that's pretty much the same thing you can say for the New York Sentinels defense. They've got one of the strongest defenses in the league. They've got the strongest defense in the league, and their offense is nothing to laugh at either. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done. It's impactful, and that's what you want out of an offense. But what you want out of a defense is the greatest in the league. That's what the New York Sentinels have. They've got one thing going for them that the Connecticut Stampede do not have going for them, and that's the stellar defense. The Stampede have been gutted a little bit on defense, and they've got a powerful offense. The Sentinels have they have a more than impactful offense. They are all around my favorite to win the Spalding Ball this year. Excuse me. If they don't even make the postseason, I would be incredibly shocked. This is just something you could expect. I mean, the Sentinels, more than likely, I would put $100 down. Excuse me. They're going to be one of the 3 teams in the postseason at the end of the year, and I can assume that they can pick up the first seed like they did last year. So can the defense be stopped? That's a very good question. I don't think it can be. I think they've got a real shot at going 6-0, and I'd be incredibly amazed if somehow, some way, season. This is just a team that you can assume to be one of the UFL's elite, one of the UFL dynasties. I mean, the Sentinels, they can't be stopped on defense and pretty much not on offense either. So the Sentinels, all around, one of the better teams in the league. Now, what about the thoughts on the Texas Watchmen at the very bottom of the Pacific standing sheet? Let me get one thing clear here. The standing sheets are nothing more than just teams with a winning record at the top, teams with an record in the middle, and teams with a record at the bottom. The Texas Watchmen are at the bottom when it comes down to teams who have not won yet lost because they have yet to play a game. But there is, let me tell you, being at the bottom of the standing sheet means nothing. It's just you're being put down. When it comes to the power rankings, maybe that's something to look for if you're down in the lower 8. But, excuse me, when it comes down to the Texas Watchmen, they are one of the better teams in the league. An alright, well, not an alright defense. They've got a pretty good defense. They've got a more than decent offense with the best offensive line in the league. They have one of the most impactful teams in UFL history, and I don't think there's any denying they could be an absolute wrecking machine in the postseason. I could very well see a New York Sentinels Texas Watchmen Spalding Ball 3 game at the very end of the season in December. But, I mean, look at this. You've got stellar team with such a stellar roster and a great owner. I don't think the Texas Watchmen will be anything shy of incredible this season. And being at the bottom of the standing sheet means nothing. When you're at the bottom of the power rankings, that's one thing to look out for. But right now, it doesn't matter that they're at the bottom of the standing sheet. What matters is that they get the win over the next 6 weeks and make it to the postseason. So, with that being said, we go into our previews and predictions for Week 1-2 of the UFL regular season. We start with Chicago Steam going on the road against the defending Spalding Ball champions, the Los Angeles Bolts. With my prediction, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Bolts to win this. They have one of the better quarterbacks in the league. They have the most improved defense in all of the UFL. The Chicago Steam, while being a sleeper pick, I'm going to assume maybe a 4-2 record at the end of the season. Could be a postseason team, can be a wild card spot. I'm going to give it to the Los Angeles Bolts this year. I'm going to give it to the Los Angeles Bolts this week. I assume that they're going to be one of the better teams in the league this year, and probably one to sleep on. A lot of people thought that last season was one that, could have gone either or. Some people say it's a fluke. I think the Los Angeles Bolts are one of the better teams in the Pacific Division, and I'm going to stick to my word on that. Next match is the Atlanta Bravehearts at the Texas Watchmen. Of course, as I've said, the Atlanta Bravehearts, while being a great team, while being one of the really clutch teams in the UFL, Texas Watchmen are too hard to handle. Their defense cannot go through, or are not good enough to go through the offensive line. The running game for the Watchmen could be on point. The passing game could be an impact too. And their defense for the Texas Watchmen is going to be able to shut down the Atlanta Bravehearts. I like the Texas Watchmen in this game, and I'm gunning with the Texas Watchmen. And of course, my game of the week for Week 1-2, the Vegas Raiders against the Arizona Copperheads. This is a game where you can go either or. The Arizona Copperheads have been, they've been really good over the past few seasons. They had a 6-0 record in 2014, a 5-1 record in 2015. I'm expecting something of maybe a 3-3, 4-2 record in 2016. I'm liking the Arizona Arizona Copperheads. Not only this week, but throughout all weeks. And the Vegas Raiders, I'm not sure that they can really handle this. The Copperheads have a great offense, probably the greatest offense in the league. And I'm gonna say it. The Arizona Copperheads are gonna win my game of the week. And let's hope for the best. I think the Vegas Raiders can put out a good show, but ultimately I think the Arizona Copperheads are really going to, prove themselves as a dominant team and really make the next couple of weeks a hard one for all teams that go against them. So with that being said, that concludes UFL Rewind Episode 1, the recap of the 2016 season kickoff. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked this episode, if you liked this show, and you would like to see more episodes in the series, excuse me, like the video and put in the comments below what you would like to see further on. Maybe some explanations, maybe a Q&A segment, whatever it may be. And if you liked it, tell me in the comments if you would like to see more episodes in the series. And you know what? If we get 5 likes on this video, I guess I'll come back with UFL Rewind episode 2 next week, probably next Saturday. One announcement I would like to make today is Saturday, September 10th, 2016. I'm hoping to get a UFC 203 preview. I'm sorry, UFC 203 live reaction video. Especially to CM Punk tonight. I'm going to see if I can do something. The usual streaming website that I use is not working at the moment, so that's going to suck. But let's hope for something good. Let's hope for a lot of likes. Let's hope for a lot of comments. Let's hope for a lot of support. I like this series. I'm kind of thinking this could be a real shot, a real prequel to what happens in 2017 when we launch Unitard Sports. And I'm involved, and Tristan Charlo will be involved, and a lot of other guys will be involved. So look forward to that. Ace Diaz, I see you in the comments. I see your comment. Are you gonna review UFC 203 tonight? If I can watch it, I'll be doing a live reaction to it. So there's that. But thank you guys for watching. Follow me on Twitter at Zachary Sir. That's SZACHARYSERRA. No underscores, no capital letters, no numbers, none of that bullshit. If you would like to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is at @TheZachHardy, at THEZACKHARDY. No underscores, no capital letters, no numbers, none of that bullshit. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for watching. This has been episode 1 of the UFL Rewind. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. I'm Zach Hardy. And before I sign off, I would like to mention the more supporters we get to, the more impactful our channel becomes, the more we can end up going for merchandise. I would like to announce that we are expecting a couple t-shirts and a couple caps for when we get more supporters. So get the announcement, or get the this channel and everything out to all of your friends, all of your coworkers, all of your family, your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your fathers, your grandmas, your grandpas, all your friends, your teachers, your principals, your cops, your robbers, your fucking construction workers, and your truck drivers, and your garbage men, and your post office men, and the fucking dogs, and the cats, and the fish, and the lions, and the chipmunks, and the bears, and the tigers, and the deers. Oh my! Fucking go tell Cinderella and Snow White and fucking Michael Jackson and Billy Idol and Elvis Presley and fucking. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. I'm Zach Hardy, and I will see you